Dude, I got me a 1978 Caucasian. My husband's white, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. He's not just white, he is Midwest white.
I know, we're gonna fix it.
Joey. Sleepy Joe, you gotta wear that mask. Especially while you're giving a 4-year-old girl a back rub.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? All right, let's get going here on the sports page as we take you out to the ball game. And first thing I want to throw at you is the COVID list. My word, is it growing. Going to run over the big names of the COVID because you're going to start looking at making your picks on the weekend, and you're going to have to be aware of these. So I'm going to roll through them as quickly as I can. Carolina Panthers, Christian McCaffrey, but does that really matter? He's out for the season. No, it does not. On the Atlanta Falcons, they've got a couple of linebackers that are out. The Bears have a loaded that are hit with it. Allen Robinson, couple of defensive linemen. They've got 6 guys on the defensive side that have been hit. The Cincinnati Bengals, they've got 4 guys. Cleveland has a mess. They've got about 15 guys on there. And Baker Mayfield being one of them. Austin Hooper being another. Cedric Wilson of the Dallas Cowboys. Jamal Williams of the Detroit Lions, although he should be eligible to come off hopefully sometime this week. We'll keep you posted on that. 4 players tonight for the Kansas City Chiefs. The linebacker Gay, Josh Gordon, Fortson, and Jones. LA Chargers have 2 offensive linemen tonight. The Rams have been absolutely annihilated. OBJ. Jalen Ramsey still on there. Darrell Henderson. Remember, Henderson went on, Saturday? So he may miss a second game. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Because if he was not vaccinated, it would be 10 days. Now, they don't release whether or not these guys are vaccinated or not. But because Henderson has not come off it yet, and we're sitting here on a Thursday, you wonder. Jalen Waddle, Phillip Lindsay, Ahmad, Gaskin, all those for the Miami Dolphins. Alexander Madison of the Vikings. D.D. Westbrook. Just a slew of guys at Saints. Ty Montgomery. Really focusing on fantasy football where it's going to affect you there. And I'm going to scroll through a couple more, and then we'll get going here. The Seahawks, these are 2 big ones. Tyler Lockett and Alex Collins. Tennessee Titans, Carter and Fitzpatrick. And then the Washington football team, it's about half the damn city. So there you have that. And so the COVID protocols are taking its toll on the National Football League. We will talk more National Football League here in a second. We're going to get into the game tonight, look at the spread, look at the over-under, all that. But before we do that, let's talk college football. Let's talk the recruiting. And, of course, the big news yesterday was Travis Hunter flipping from Florida State and possibly Georgia to going to Jackson State. Everyone's making a huge deal about that. I think it's much ado about nothing, and I'll tell you why. If Travis Hunter really wanted to challenge himself and see what he's about, Travis Hunter would be playing in an FBS school next fall. Travis Hunter, to me, if you watch the press conference, it was Bush League, what he did with the hats. You know, any of these kids that pick up one hat and pick up another hat and then pick up their third hat, you know, it's been done to death. It just tells you lack of creativity, and there might be a lack of a lot of things going on in there in the old noodle. I'm not going to say that he's not a bright guy, but he's damn sure not creative, and we'll leave it at that. It'll be interesting to see what comes down from this. There's already rumblings that folks believe Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports got in bed with Deion Sanders to promote some kind of a mega deal, because remember, Deion's got the gig with Barstool to bring this kid over. And it'll be interesting to see what the stipulations of the NIL will be. I said this a couple of years ago. When you get into bed with the NIL deals and you did all this, you were essentially killing college football. And college football is essentially dead. College football no longer exists. It is now minor league football. And it's going to pony up. Eventually, I think what's going to happen, this will be years down the road, but you're going to start seeing them be straight pipelines into the National Football League, meaning certain conferences will have straight pipelines into certain teams. And so it's going to be interesting to see where this goes here, but my take on it is this. There's a lot of 5 stars and a lot of 4 stars that come out that never heard from again. So we'll see what happens with Hunter, but he's going to go play for a school that he's not going to be challenged on a daily basis. And will that affect his draft stock down the road? Will he even make it through 2 seasons at Jackson State? Will he get there and go, yeah, this is cool and all, but to be honest with you, I'd like to be in the bright lights. You're not going to be in the bright lights at Jackson State. I'm sorry. I don't give a damn how much they might throw a game on a Wednesday night because ESPN's going to be fawning over, let's see the number 1 kid. But he's going to be forgotten about. And how will that play with him, and how will that long-term affect him? I think it's going to affect long-term. You might see some other kids flip to the HBCU schools, but I think more likely what's going to happen is you're going to see Hunter transfer back in to a Power 5. Whether or not that's Georgia or Florida State, or whether he picks another one, who knows? And we'll see what he's got. But everyone was gloom and doom on Florida State, so let's go ahead and tackle that issue. Late last night, they got a huge commitment. Julian Armello, offensive tackle, left tackle, out of Fort Lauderdale, the Miami area, 6'5". He is a 5-star offensive tackle. Now, there's a couple other guys that, depending on what rag you're paying attention to, Florida State got 2, possibly even arguably 3 5-stars, but we're going to go off of Rivals, and Rivals is giving Florida State the 1 5-star. So all the teams I talk about, I'm going off of Rivals because it's too much to go back and forth. And they have their own scoring system. ESPN has their scoring system. There's a lot of different scoring systems out there, but I'm going off of Rivals. Not only did they get the offensive lineman, they got 8 4-stars. 8 3-stars. And for folks that thought Florida State needed to have this big splashy move with the Travis Hunter, I still think they got a lot of great talent and something you haven't seen in a long time in Tallahassee. They got the boys up front. They went out and got Jalen Early, another offensive lineman, 6'5", another guy, potential tackle out of Duncanville, Texas. He is a 4-star recruit. They got a 3-star recruit that some have as a 4-star out of Brunswick, Georgia, another offensive lineman. They got another kid who's a 4-star recruit, Kayshawn Sapp, some have as a 5-star out of Leesburg, Georgia. So they went out and they got the big boys. Because I think the main thing that Mike Norvell realized over anything else in his tenure at FSU, he's been there 2 seasons, he's seen a lot of junk on the field, and the number one with the bullet is they're not controlling the offensive line. They're not controlling the defensive line. When you realize that of the 17 recruits and they left open, they're planning on signing a full 25. They're also planning on leaving some spaces open for a possible slew of transfer portals coming in that they have targeted. But when you look at the guys that they signed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive linemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive linemen. They got a tight end. They did get a couple of athletes. They went out and got themselves a quarterback, a 4-star quarterback from Bradenton, Florida, A.J. Duffy. A lot of people are really big on him. I mean, his scoring is a 5.9. That's just right under the cusp of a 5-star. All these guys are going to help build that bridge to get Florida State better. Let's look at some other teams. Let's look at some other teams that are had a really good recruiting day. I'm not going to bore you with the Alabamas. Everyone has seen Alabama. Everyone knows that Alabama is ranked 1 or 2. Some people have Texas A&M as number 1. Some people have Alabama as number 1. They've got Georgia in there. Those 3 are the consensus 1, 2, 3. Ohio State number 4 and Texas slid into number 5. They turned some guys and got them to come over. And that, I'll tell you something else that was impressive to me. So Penn State hit in there at number 6. But how about Notre Dame? They lose Kelly, and they are at number 7. And Notre Dame doesn't always recruit that high. They have to go by a lot of guidelines that a lot of schools don't go by. They went out, they had themselves a haul. Michigan, number 8. North Carolina, 9. But how about Kentucky sliding into the top 10? That's impressive. Tennessee sitting there at 11, and I may not have mentioned it before, but Florida State jumped all the way to number 12 at Rivals with the signing of the offensive tackle late last night. So you look at the Tennessee signing, and they didn't get any 5-star, but they got 7 4-stars and 13 3-stars. You can build with 3 stars and 4 stars. Absolutely. That's where your bread and butter is made. Your biggest concern is you don't want a bunch of 1s and 2s if you're at an FBS. So every once in a while you'll get a 1 and a 2, and it's mainly because the coaching staff or a coach is very big on the guy. But all in all, you're looking for 3 stars and above. So Tennessee signed 20, and like I said, 7 4-stars, 13 3-stars. Their overall average rating was lower than some teams, but because they signed more than teams like Florida State, they jumped above. When you look at the overall, Florida State's average right now sits, if you did it by ranking, they would be sitting on the average, they'd be right around 6th or 7th in the country. So still a really good recruiting class. Tennessee would be sitting still top 15. And you look at some of the guys that they got that I'm excited to see how they unfold at the University of Tennessee. They kind of went the same similarity as Mike Norvell did. They went out there and they did get a big-time running back, Justin Williams. Keep an eye on him. Out of Dallas, Georgia, 6 foot, 206 pounds. He is supposed to be a beast. A lot of people had him as a 5-star. James Pierce, a hell of a defensive lineman out of Charlotte, North Carolina. When Tennessee is recruiting well in Georgia and North Carolina, they are on top of their game. And that's what they did. They went and they cleaned up in Georgia. They got some guys out of North Carolina. They got some guys. They even got themselves a couple of guys out of Florida. And they did get a quarterback that they are very high on. And he is from Greenwood, Indiana, Taven Jackson. 4-star pro-style quarterback, and that ought to be a lot of fun to watch. It really should. Now, he committed to Tennessee way back in April, but this kid could be the get of the class. So we'll keep an eye on Taven Jackson. Like I said, look, 6'5", 195 pounds, running back. Obviously, he's going to grow into that frame. That could be a hell of a get. Got to give a shout out to Elijah Herring, 3-star linebacker, but he's from my old stomping grounds, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Went to Riverdale, for those of y'all that listen to us that are from that area. So I thought Tennessee had a really good recruiting class, and considering that it was Heupel's first real recruiting class, phenomenal. Kentucky, phenomenal. Arkansas, I mean, come on. Got to give Arkansas some love. They went out and got 6 4-stars. Mississippi State is in the top 15. Oklahoma slid back, but they're still competitive. And Oklahoma, all those years that they're really good, they don't really tend to be up in the top 5 recruiting. They're happy if they're top 10, top 15, because the state of Oklahoma and surrounding areas, except for Texas, are not known as a big hub, and they have a hard time going in and recruiting, especially after what just went down into the state of Texas. So some of their guys tend to be, and some of the guys that Oklahoma gets end up being better players, but they're not very highly rated because they're sitting in the state of Oklahoma or on the outskirts of. A couple other surprises that I'll throw out there. How about South Carolina? South Carolina ranked number 21st in the country. Michigan State, number 19. But LSU, 26th overall. Kelly, I get it. He came in there late. That's not good, man. That's not going to get it done. He signed 13 total guys. He did get a 5-star, but he has got to do a better job of recruiting. When you're down there around the Boston colleges and Purdue's, and you're LSU, that's going to be an issue. What about Clemson falling all the way to 29th in rivals? Now, a lot of that has to do, their actual average isn't half bad. I mean, they got a 5-star, they got 8 4-stars, and only 2 3-stars. But to only have 13 guys total, that's a bad recruiting class for Clemson. And it may not show up instantly next year, but look out for the following year. Now, the one thing that they did go out and get that everyone was foaming at the mouth and they were wondering if he might flip somewhere is Cade Klubnik, the quarterback out of Austin, Texas. Expect him to take DJ's spot instantly. Ole Miss, nothing to write home about. 31st in the country. Oklahoma State 30th. So that kind of gets you caught up on what's going on. The Gators 47th in the country. I couldn't believe there was a couple of people out there bragging about the Gators recruiting class. 1 5-star, so you like that. 4 4s, 4 3s, and a 2. 47th in the country. When you're barely above Marshall, it's a bad recruiting class. Now look, Napier's brand new, and this tends to happen. But you don't normally see Florida that far down, so it'll be interesting. And then when you consider some of the transfers they're getting, Miami 64th in the country, no 5-stars. They did get 4 4s and 4 3s, but he's going to have to improve upon that, and a lot of them are going to, some of these new coaches, they take the approach of, I'm not going to throw a bunch of scholarships away. We're going to see what we have, and we'll go from there next year so we can maybe absorb some transfers in, and so maybe that might be the route they're going. But Southern Cal, what about Southern Cal? Southern Cal goes out and gets Lincoln Riley, and he's got 5 recruits so far. Now, it does go all the way into tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But they're 79th in the country. They got a 5-star, they got 2 4s, they got 2 3s. They're 79th in the country. Ouch. Tulane is ranked over Southern Cal in college football recruiting. Northern Illinois, Navy, Coastal Carolina. They're all ranked above them. Now, I don't think that'll end that way, but wow. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Urban Meyer massacre. They finally fired his ass, and it's about time. And I'm not going to get on this big thing because everyone's been talking about this ad nauseum today, but I'm going to throw this at you. It is shocking how bad some of these college coaches are. You look at the Nick Sabans. You look at the Steve Spurriers, Urban Meyer. The list goes on and on. They go from college to the NFL. They think they got it worked out. And what I think was the death of Urban Meyer, not just the off-field antics, stuff we read about, but his unbelievable arrogance to think he's going to go in and bring a college football coaching staff into the NFL, because that's primarily what he did, and think that that was going to get it done. A lot of people think that this is like good riddance and bye forever. Urban Meyer will be back. I guarantee you, Urban Meyer will be coaching major college football again by 2023 at the very latest. He's too competitive to let that be his legacy. Someone will come a-calling that's tired of not getting over the hump, Georgia. Someone will come a-calling that is tired of having to settle for average seasons, Florida State. Someone will come a-calling that says we fell from grace and the guys just lost it and we got to get back on top, Clemson. Someone will come a-calling that says this guy didn't work out like we thought he was going to and you've got to rebuild our program, Oklahoma. Urban Meyer will be back. Guarantee it. Someone will come a-calling that tried to take a gamble on a young guy and he didn't work out, and Urban Meyer wants that job desperately, Notre Dame. That will be his last. That'll be his last hurrah. He'll be going into his 60s there. He'll get one last hurrah in college, right off into the sunset, and do it his way. He'll chase down another national championship ring, whatever his legacy. But I would be shocked if Urban Meyer's done with. I don't think he does anything next year. I don't think he's on television. I don't think he wants anything to do with any of it. I think he wants to step away from it. He might go back to the Fox Game of the Week or whatever, or what do they call it? Big Fox Saturday, whatever the hell the kickoff show is called. But he is done. Done in the NFL. No one in the NFL is going to give him a chance. But college football will forgive, but I think it'll be a year from now. All right, moving on from that, you got the NFL game tonight, so let's go ahead and look at that action as we're trying to keep these shows as succinct as possible. Remember, tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern, we'll have the Armchair Quarterbacks Happy Hour show. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's action. Right now, as we speak, the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite in Los Angeles. The over-under is up, by the way, to 54.5. It was 52.5 this morning. It has jumped that high. Usually what that means is that if you try to take the over now, you're going to get burned. But I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. I just don't think I would bet that high of an over because everything's got to go right. And if these two teams kind of stumble and almost like a big boxing match where they're just kind of feeling themselves out in the first quarter, they get off to a slow start, it's going to be hard to catch that number. Look for the Chiefs. Look for CEH to go off tonight. That Chargers rush defense has been terrible, and I do think they're going to try to gash them on the ground. Not saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to chuck it through the air. And for the 8th consecutive game, look for Herbert to go over 300 yards. That dude is on fire. He's got, 30 touchdowns? If his record wasn't so middle of the road, we'd be talking about him for MVP. But I think the Chargers have a puncher's chance tonight. They're at home. They need this win desperately. If they get the W, they're going to be in a flat-footed tie with the Chiefs. Chiefs come in one game in front, and if that were to take place, now remember something about this. They played earlier in the year, and they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. Granted, the Chiefs were not playing very well, but they beat them. If LA wins the game tonight, they're going to have the tiebreaker. Listen to the rest of LA's schedule. Texans at the Texans. Broncos at home at the Raiders. Chargers can run the table. So if they can get that W tonight, huge. If the Chiefs get the W tonight, though they will have split, they're going to have a 2-game lead. So this game is enormous. Chiefs are going to be at home against the Steelers, at the Bengals, at the Broncos. A little tougher schedule, but very manageable. If they win tonight, I don't believe Kansas City would essentially probably they'd have to lose at least 2 of those, and they would definitely have to lose the Broncos game because that would come down to the tiebreakers of the actual division. But this is a huge game. It should be a fun game. Some of these Thursday night games I kind of scoff at, and I'll have it on the background, but I'm going to be locked into this one. This one's going to be fun. It should be fun. Let me put it that way. Right now, the division records, LA and Kansas City both with just one loss. Conference records are almost identical. LA is 5-4. Kansas City is 5-3. Kansas City is 4-4. The winner of this game tonight essentially wins the division. That's what you're probably looking at. So there you have that. All right, we're going to go ahead and take off out of here. We'll see you tomorrow night, 5 Eastern on tomorrow 5 Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be happy hour. Have a great one.
Take me out to the ball game.